Friends, I have a question for you. How many of you would like to become smart consumers? Are your hands working? If yes, raise them. Oh, all of you. All right. Now that's a change that I want at the end of my talk. And therefore I'm here to acquaint us about our rights as consumers. My question to you. Who is a consumer? Any answers? By the way, you prefer one-way communication or two-way? Two ways? Go ahead. Give your answers. Who is a consumer?
Someone who uses a product.
Someone who uses a product. Okay, fine. Now, supposing my car is standing outside and someone steals it. He is using the product. So, does he become a consumer? Will he be entitled to the free service? Yes or no?
No.
No. So, anything else is required besides being a user?
Somebody who buys.
Somebody who buys, okay. Now, supposing I buy a suit piece and I present it to my brother. Now, obviously, I'm not going to hand over the bill to him as proof of purchase. But supposing something wrong is discovered with that suit piece, then does my brother have the right as a consumer? He doesn't have the bill. Can he exercise his right as a consumer? He can. Only if the manufacturer questions as to how he has got this, only then he has to give the answer that I got it as a gift. And the manufacturer can check out whether the product has been manufactured by him or not. Okay. Now supposing three of us board a rickshaw. We have not decided who's going to pay. On the way there is some problem. Can the rickshawala turn back and say, look guys, you decide who's going to pay amongst you? Only that person then has a right to complain. Can a rickshawala say that? No payment has taken place. It's not known who will be paying. Any answers? No? Never had a problem with the rickshawala? Okay, how lucky. I know now you have started playing safe. So I will solve the puzzle for you. The definition of the word consumer has widened quite a lot. Even if you merely have an intention to pay, that's good enough for you to qualify as a consumer. Because these days, there are various schemes of payment. You can make zero payment and take the goods home. And still, you are qualified as a consumer. So payment is not a precondition. A mere intention to pay suffices. Likewise, supposing you go for a wedding and let us say you use the catering services and you suffer from food poisoning. Will you have a right to sue the caterer or not?
Yes.
Why? You are not paid for that. But you have availed of that service with the consent of the person who is going to pay for it. So here is another thing. Even if you are merely availing of some goods or services with the consent of the buyer, that by itself is good enough for you to qualify as a consumer. Now, my friends, I'll make the job easy for you. I've got next 16 minutes in which to talk to you about 8 rights of consumers, so I would be running faster than Carl Lewis. Now, here is what. You want to remember them very easily? Of course, it's very easy. Remember the mnemonic Big Shri. B-I-C-S-H-R-E-E. Can anyone repeat for me what's the mnemonic? Big Shri. B-I-C-S-H-R-E-E. The B stands for right to basic needs. Now what are the basic needs? Basic needs are those needs which need to be supplied to us to exist as human beings. And those are food, clothing, shelter, health, and education. And so it happens, my friends, that supposing a particular person has passed an exam but has not got the threshold marks required for the college, you will find it's the government which arranges for this person's admission so that he gets the basic education. But he cannot say, for instance, that becoming an engineer is my basic need. He would get some degree like commerce, science, or something which helps him earn his living as a consumer. However, the right to basic needs remains on paper. Let festival times come, and you will find that the intention of this particular right gets assaulted every time. For example, whenever there are festivals, you will find prices of essential commodities rising. Tur dal has been an instance in recent times. Similarly, there are other problems. So what does this right ensure basically? There are acts which are made, for example, Essential Commodities Act, Maintenance of Essential Services Act, so on and so forth. That is to ensure that you have a steady supply of your basic needs in reasonable quantity, of reasonable quality, and at reasonable price. But my dear friends, whenever the prices go up, we don't utter even a squeak. We don't wake up the government to say that for heaven's sake, exercise that Essential Commodities Act. Why? Because we have not been conscious of our rights. We get on to the next interesting right, and that is right to information. Incidentally, this right to information is very different from the right to information under Right to Information Act. What this right implies is that you have the right to ask questions and get information about the use of a product or service. And so it happened that once somebody asked Dr. Kurian, the chairman of NDDB, that, sir, tell me whether cheese is veg or non-veg. Obviously, Dr. Kurian replied because he respected that consumer's right. He said, my dear friend, I cannot tell you whether cheese is veg or non-veg. You have to decide that. I can only decide the process for you. And the process is that rennet, a stuff from a calf, is used for fermenting the milk and producing cheese. Now he said, you decide whether cheese is veg or non-veg. My dear friends, I want to ask you a question. What is the most important information for a consumer on a packaged commodity? Price. And how is the price mentioned? MRP, maximum retail price, including taxes. My question to you is, do our buying practices reflect that? For example, do we ever tell the shopkeeper, hey, this bottle says 10 rupees is the MRP. Why are you giving it to me for 10 rupees? It should be something lesser than that. Because MRP is the ceiling price above which a person cannot be charged. So we need to change, my friends, our buying habits. We need to fight shy. We need not be shy. And we need to fight our shyness in terms of bargaining. Because we consumers have something called the power of purchasing. If we withdraw that power, what will happen? There will be no economy. And therefore, change your buying habits wherever it is possible. Do bargain. We get on to the next right, and that is right to choose. One day, one of my friends went to a hospital because his wife was hospitalized there, and he went to buy some drugs from a chemist. The chemist asked him, sir, where from have you bought other medicines? And he said, I bought it from some other chemist because he is giving me credit. So that chemist told him, sir, ye dawai bhi aap wahin se khareediye. Now my question to you, did the consumer, did that particular chemist have the right to actually refuse the sale of that medicine?
No.
When he did that, he assaulted that fellow consumer's right to choose. So your question in your mind may be, sir, what do I do in case a chemist insists that I buy a complete pack of costly medicine? My advice to you is very simply ask him his FDA license number. The chemist will want to know why you want it. You can reply to him and you can tell him so that I can ask the FDA inspector who will visit you whether your insistence on forcing me to buy medicine more than my requirement is legally correct or not. The fellow will get his message. We get on to the next right, and that is right to safety. These days you will find that our toys have become rounded on edges. Earlier they were not. Thanks to the copying that prevails of the international toys, many of the improvements have happened in those. But you must have also heard of that controversy about some Chinese toy consignment being returned because the toys had poisonous colors. Right to safety is something that we need to take care of. There are any number of instances that I can give you where you will find that our right to safety was not properly controlled by the government of India. Suffice it to say that your right to safety should be in your hands. Be careful of what you eat, what you use. Especially as engineers, when you design products, you need to make sure that electricity safety standards are met so that people do not get electrocuted or even mechanical safety standards are met. We get on to the next right, and that is right to be heard. Now here I have a question. Do you have a voice as a consumer? Yes. Your opinions are sought through newspapers. Whenever there is a new legislation in the offing, the bill copy is available on the website. Or there are newspaper advertisements asking for your views, but those are skipped. People don't respond to them. Please do. Anytime you notice a problem, these days you have got a mobile. All you need to do is shoot a pothole, for instance, and stand there and take a video of your own talking about that problem. You can be a citizen journalist on television. That's one of the easiest ways to do that. And whenever that happens, you will find that the problem gets corrected. Because public authorities are sensitive to whatever the citizen journalists say. Or a very simple device of writing a letter to the newspapers. All you got to do is to cut paste a letter and write to 7 newspapers, at least 2 or 3 of them will publish. We get on to the next right, and that is right to redressal. I hope you never have to go to consumer courts. Let that be the last resort. However, suffice it to say that these days there are many regulatory agencies and also internal redressal grievance agencies for various organizations. And therefore, you can avail of them. Now, my purpose for telling you about your rights is not to make you cantankerous. All I want from you is to learn to assert your rights first calmly and then slowly more assertively. Don't become aggressive unless and until it is absolutely necessary. We get on to the next right, and that is right to consumer education. What is this right to consumer education? How many of you have got vacuum cleaners in your houses? And most probably they are lying in some corner picking up the dust. Is that right? Now that happens, my friends, because what happened was that the vacuum cleaners were bought and the problems began. When you started cleaning your house at the same speed at which the salesman was doing it, probably the boom went one way, the pipe went another way, you soon gave up, and today that machine is collecting dust from your jhadu. So what's the point? The point is, consumer education requires 2 things. Number 1, skill and information. Read the manuals, make sure that the person who comes to give the demo also supervises when you are operating that particular machine. And we come to the last right, and that is right to clean and healthy environment. I do not know whether in your college you have got that whiteboard or you have a blackboard or a green board where chalk is used. But in many colleges where chalk is used, you will find there is a pelmet which collects dust from the chalks of various generations of professors. And when the fan is turned on, everyone breathes that chalk dust. Of course, it affects our breathing system. Well, my friends, you want to discover your power as a consumer? It's easy. Practice your consumer rights. Thank you.